in the house. John Copper, many in this community know from his time at the University of Virginia on the gridiron. Many of you guys know him from his time at ACAC, where he was often grinding, as I was, managing brands for clients. Many of you may know him as a fantastic father and husband. Today, the marketing director of a fabulous brand in Greenberries that is doing something innovative and creative, a crowdsourcing stock option invitation for the community to get a part of, from an ownership standpoint of one of the best brands in Central Virginia, a brand with a global footprint. So we are live on all social channels possible. Give the show a like and a share. If you want to give John Copper some props, you certainly can by putting those comments, those props and praise in the feed. And I will relay your perspective live on air to John Copper today on the I Love CVille show. I'm excited for this. Andrew David Shields is excited to see John Copper in the mix. We have folks in DC and Harrisonburg on our heat map watching the program here. See some folks in DC watching the program. Heat map, a map of IP addresses that are watching the program, shows Japan in the mix. I would imagine that is the Greenberries influence in Japan. It's not often the I Love CVille show gets a viewership in Japan, but we have it today. Give the show a like and a share, offer some thoughts and perspective. We're going to spend 30 minutes with one of the A-plus guys in the community and a guy that's doing big-time things with the brand. J-Dubs, I appreciate you, Judah Wickower. We can rock and roll, my friend, when you are ready.
Wide on set.
Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. It's good to be with you on a Thursday afternoon. Thank you kindly for joining us. As you guys know, we are live at our headquarters in Charlottesville, Virginia, with an audience that's Central Virginia-wide, Commonwealth-wide, countrywide, and worldwide. Today's show, we are super excited about his second rodeo on the I Love CVille network, the distinguished, established, the all-around A-plus John Copper will join us in a matter of moments. If you'd like to give John Copper some props and some praise, put those thoughts in perspective in the comments section of any of the social media platforms you're watching this show upon, and I will relay that commentary live on air to John Copper on this very program. Today's show, we are going to highlight one of the most creative and innovative approaches to crowdsourcing business ownership that I've ever seen. Once again, Sean and Roxanne Simmons, the owners of Greenberries Coffee, are on the cusp of innovation. And we will allow encourage the marketing director of Greenberries, John Copper, to relay that innovation on today's program. Judah Wickower is our director. We give him props. Judah Wickower, our North Star and the man behind the camera. Judah Wickower, my friend, if you could go to the two-shot, and let's welcome friend of the program, John Copper, to the show. John, good afternoon. How are you, my friend?
I'm great. Thanks, Jerry. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. I am excited about this interview. Your second time on the show. First time you, like you always do in just about everything you do, hit a grand slam, registered 17 tackles, recovered a fumble, and took it to the house. Today we're going to talk branding, marketing, we're going to talk life. You're a husband, you're a father, you're a marketing director, but I need to stop talking and I got to get out of your way. Introduce yourself to everybody that's watching this program.
Yeah, appreciate everybody coming out and joining. My name's John Copper. Most people probably know me playing football for UVA during the Al Groh era. Came in with Chris Long, 2004. I guess my claim to fame is I had more tackles than Chris while we were here together. And yeah, so played football here at UVA, and since then have been in the sales, marketing, nutrition spaces since then. My wife, Megan, this is new, Jerry. She now works for Disney. She is on their software engineering, one of their teams there. And then 2 beautiful children. Odin is age 4. We're big Marvel fans. And then Eleanor, age 7. So that's the roundup.
The marketing director of a brand that is the longest tenured coffee brand in business in the Charlottesville and Central Virginia community. One we adore. My wife loves the coffee. We'll get to that. I want to get to crowdsourcing stock options. I want to talk about the evolution of what Sean and Roxanne have done. First, put in perspective Greenberries and the evolution of this fantastic business.
You know, Greenberries, before I started working with Sean and Roxanne a couple of years ago, I had no idea the size that Greenberries was. I thought it was just a single shop, local coffee shop that actually kind of focused in tea. I thought their coffee and tea name that they actually took from Peet's Coffee and Tea. That was one of their mentors early on, was Alfred Peet. Anyway, started working with them, first of all on a kind of a smaller level, and then it grew. But they have franchises in Saudi Arabia, franchises in Japan, franchises across throughout the Mid-Atlantic, sold in Costco, one of Whole Foods' first. Now you see all the signs with local at Whole Foods. They were, to our understanding, we don't have any documentation to prove this, but to our understanding, they were the first local coffee that was sold in Whole Foods regionally here back in the early 2000s. Certainly just an incredible brand story. 1992, so they weren't the first coffee roaster, they were the second that we know of here in Charlottesville, but that first one went out of business actually in the 90s, unfortunately. So they're the longest running, or the original coffee roaster, as we like to say, here in Charlottesville. Been in business, Barracks Road is a flagship store, but they also now have stores at the Center in Belvedere. And then we're all over UVA. So we're in the UVA C stores, they're on grounds. We also have a number of smaller franchises on grounds at UVA that Aramark runs. Then stores in Harrisonburg, stores in McLean, DC, and then other franchises, and again, they're elsewhere. So it's a really large brand. But one of the things that Sean and Roxanne really pride themselves in, every bean of coffee gets roasted right here in Charlottesville. Headquarters is right up by the airport. And so whether the coffee is consumed in the Middle East or Asia, or shipped across the country via our Shopify store, every bean gets roasted. All the jobs are created here locally that support that.
Scott Aaronworth, watching in Virginia Beach, he asked, do they have food, Jerry? I said, absolutely they do. The menu is absolutely dynamite. Scott Aaronworth, and we appreciate you watching the show. We've dubbed him the king of Virginia Beach. I've gotten to know the Greenberries brand as well, and I was also astonished by the scale of what is happening. Folks here in Charlottesville, as John has highlighted, you may know Greenberries. I was first touched by the brand, maybe you were as well, as a student at the University of Virginia.
Yep.
Then I found myself studying at the cafe in Barracks Road. A few times I did. And then I found myself, as my wife fell in love with the coffee, got a happy wife, happy life, picking up coffee, making sure that she enjoyed some of her favorite. And then had a chance to talk to Sean and Roxanne, and they explained the scale of what was going on. This is truly like a story of incredible proportions and positivity that's originated in Charlottesville and in the Central Virginia region. Can you speak, and you've touched on it a little bit, of the vertically integrated nature of this business a little more, John?
Yeah, so one of the things that we like to say is we do everything except grow the beans. So I mean, Sean and Roxanne have been very wise as they've grown their business in being able to capture multiple layers of profits through vertical integration. That also, with everything that's going on right now with supply chain disruptions, that also mitigates. It doesn't eliminate them, but it does mitigate supply chain disruption when you own kind of the entire supply chain, as it were. So that's been they're very sound, conservative business people. So they've never taken on large amounts of debt. They've worked for vertical integration from very early on. They've been very conservative in, to this point, fairly conservative in only opening shops from a position of strength, which has proven very beneficial. And then, the other thing is they've never taken on a large outside investor. So, one of their things is they wanted to be able to run the coffee business the way that they wanted to do that. And when you bring on a large outside investor, a lot of companies do that. But when you bring on maybe a large or a few outside investors, they want more say in what's happening. Sean and Roxanne always they had a vision for how good coffee brings people together, and they wanted to execute that vision and not have that diluted by people with potentially other interests that also had controlling interest in the company. So anyway, that's a little bit about kind of the business side of Sean and Roxanne and Greenberries.
We have so much to cover. We have photos on screen, Judah's saying, of Sean and Roxanne. So folks that are watching the visual element of the show, you're going to see pics of the founders right there. Husband and wife, a locally owned business in Charlottesville. We should highlight this. The pandemic and God-fearing people on set here, thank the good Lord we're on the endemic stage of this pandemic. The pandemic was not kind to coffee shops. Greenberries, through strategic, as you said, plays of controlling their supply chain, insulated themselves in a lot of ways to the vulnerability of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. The locally owned coffee shop struggled to survive. Can you put that in perspective for us, maybe with some national numbers and what you've seen being following this field very closely?
Yeah. So independent coffee shops, so smaller coffee shops like, basically every coffee shop we have here in Charlottesville, just about, minus Starbucks and Dunkin'. So all those small independent coffee shops, nearly 1 in 10 closed for good permanently during the pandemic. And that's the first time. 2020 was the first time that independent coffee shops actually went down in numbers in like decades. Nearly 1 in 10 independents closed for good. So they're out of business. Unfortunately, it's a huge loss for our communities. And then the second thing is what happened is Starbucks, large publicly traded company. Starbucks began to really focus on curbside pickup and drive-through, which is exactly what Dunkin' already does. So now the statistic straight from Starbucks is that 2/3 of their stores are drive-through focused or even drive-through only. So what's happened is with independents closing and with Starbucks going the way of Dunkin', we have this drastic reduction in just what we would call the third place, which is where you go study, where you go meet a friend, where you might go catch up on some remote work. So that place that it's not school, it's not work, it's not your home, but you still want to go there, and they're essential for building community. They're essential for bringing people together. For the first time in a really long time, we have a reduction in those numbers of places, those third places that people gather, people get together. But everything we've seen, the data is, these are still in very high demand. They're just not as profitable for a company like Starbucks, that has hundreds of millions of quarterly revenue to keep track of, or Dunkin'. It's more profitable for them to jettison some of their cafe focus, or even a lot of their cafe focus in the way of Starbucks. But for us, we see that as a massive opportunity to come in and help these communities reestablish third places. So, for example, our understanding is that Starbucks has almost entirely pulled out of DC. So because of their focus on drive-through, that is, it's really hard to do drive-throughs in DC proper. So Starbucks, to our understanding, has almost entirely pulled out of DC, every single store. And we see the need, especially in a place like DC, to be able to gather, to be able to meet friends, to be able to do remote work. So places like that, but it's all across the country, places like that those third places where Starbucks has historically held that claim, they've pulled back and they don't hold that claim anymore, and they're actually actively removing themselves in many ways from that claim because they're doing curbside only or drive-through only or different things like that, which again, that's good business sense for them, but we also see that as there's still very high demand for that, so we see that as an opportunity for us.
And that leads us to the opportunity that Greenberry's is offering. A second round of crowdsourced stock options. The first round was a smash success. And this is an opportunity, you give us the details and the nitty gritty, but this is an opportunity for fans to become owners in the brand they love. Sean and Roxanne, I love this idea. I love the marketing of the idea. You're doing a hell of a job with it. Sincerely mean that. It is everywhere. The first round, I saw the first round and I'm like, you know what, this is incredibly creative. Let's see how people respond. And they came out by the hundreds. The second round is live now, and the momentum behind the second round of crowdsourced stock options is probably going to surpass the first. Show us yours on what's going down here, and do it for do it for the folks, the viewers and listeners that may not even be business savvy, if you could.
Yeah. So there's a couple options for a business, or a few options, I guess, for a business to raise money. One of which, already mentioned earlier, you can go to a large outside investor. They're going to request a pretty substantial stake in the company, and oftentimes they're also going to want influence in the company. They're going to want to direct how things are happening. So, as a company, our DNA, we're a community-based coffee shop, and going that route didn't really fit with our DNA. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, and a lot of companies do that. We learned about what's called equity crowdfunding actually right before the pandemic started. So this was probably 2019 we came across it. And it basically allows us to offer a limited number of stock, of shares in the company, so you can actually own part of the company, but do that in very small numbers. So instead of maybe a large investor that might invest tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, or in other cases even millions of dollars, we are looking at giving people the opportunity to invest in Greenberry's for as low as a couple $100s, and you can own shares in the company. And there's two things about that. One is we wanted to open it up for our fans, for people that follow Greenberry's, are connected to the Charlottesville area potentially, but also now Harrisonburg and DC and all these other places where the Greenberry's brand is thriving. But the other part of it is that you also get to share in our growth. So, we have aggressive plans to open new cafes, open new franchises, as well as expanding with new product lines. So we have our Nitro cold brew product, which is in a can. We also were the first to launch a Nitro cold brew with spirits. So it has bourbon or neutral spirits, absolutely delicious product. You drink it with brunch, drink it in the early afternoon. Anyway, just an incredible product, not too sweet, not too much alcohol, just the right amount of both. So it allows you to invest, and then any investment, you're looking at a 3, 5, maybe 10-year arc. So as Greenberry's grows, as Greenberry's becomes more and more profitable, your shares could potentially grow along with that. Now again, have to do the little asterisk, the legal. As with any investment, there's risk. So Start Engine, our platform that this is on, has very clear disclaimers about that. So I'm not going to go into all that, but it is an investment. And some people invest because they want to be a part of supporting Greenberry's. Some people invest because they're looking for a return, and they believe what we believe, which is that good coffee brings people together, and we need more places in our communities around the country and even around the world that focus in on that as other places, unfortunately, have closed, that was their focus, or larger brands that are just shifting away from that being their focus. So just real quick, if you want to learn more about that, the webpage to go to, you can go to startengine.com/coffee. Startengine.com/coffee. StartEngine is the premier equity crowdfund company, which again is built for companies like us. So we're not massive. We're not going to do a public stock option. But we also don't want to take on large private investors either. So it allows us to issue stock. And just like normal securities, equities, you buy stock and you own shares in the company. But StartEngine is the platform that allows us to do that. So startengine.com/coffee is the URL that allows people to do that.
Put in perspective the first round.
Yeah, the first
response.
round, we really, we didn't know what to expect. We launched the first round about a year ago, actually, and the focus then was really on helping us expand our Nitro product line. So again, we have a delicious cold brew Nitro coffee in a can, and then we also were the first to launch a hard coffee that uses neutral spirits, so bourbon and neutral spirits, and also in a can. So the focus of the first raise was really for that. We didn't know what the response would be, but the outpouring of support was just incredible. We had we almost hit 400 investors. We were able to raise over a couple $100,000, which was just tremendous, and we've already utilized that. Part of that, those things, they helped us promote a new a very long-time employee of Greenberry's. She was promoted to our director of retail and franchising, so she now directs all our cafes and all our franchises. Allowed us to hire our first director of sales, and also formally allowed me to come on board as the first director of marketing. So we've already taken that money and reinvested it to help us grow. It's helped us with our expansion. We are doubling our roasting capacity, our brewing capacity, and our roasting staff in a second facility that we're adding. We're going to continue operating the first facility. Our second facility that we're adding right up in Zion's Crossroads. So we'll now be a Albemarle and Fluvanna company, keeping everything local, of course. And then we, also those funds from the first raise, they help us. We had our best fourth quarter ever with online sales. So shop.greenberries.com is where people can go online, and we ship that all across the country. So anyway, we've already had, and then our director of sales, I mean, he's been killing it. We're in several hundred new outlets that are convenience stores right now, and that's all been him, just in the last 6 months. Hundreds of new convenience stores, which we were never sold in convenience stores previously, and now we're in hundreds of different convenience stores: Georgia, Indiana, Kentucky, Virginia, and that's been our director of sales. He's been incredible in helping get that off the ground.
What is what's the barometer? What is Greenberry's? What does the brand want to be after these 2 rounds of crowdsourcing options? Where does it want to go? You've highlighted the success of how the revenue was utilized to deepen human capital. Mm-hmm. Where would you like the team? Where does the team want the brand to become, or what does it want it to become?
So, let's just take real quick the hard coffee product in particular. So that was a completely new category. We were actually the first to file with the government agency to create a bourbon-based coffee product. Now, you have mixers, you go to bars, I mean, there's already stuff like that you can get other places. We were the first to actually file to legally create it, put it in a can. So this was just 2.5 years ago. So very new category. You had all these big brands that came out, kind of guns blazing to try to get a piece of it. So PBR launched a hard coffee. La Colombe launched a hard coffee. Jägermeister even launched something, and I don't know if I call it a hard coffee, but it was it looked very different what they did. 12s is another brand. So all of these other companies, they created a product that was malt based. So it was beer and coffee. And think about taking your favorite beer, and then taking your favorite coffee and mixing them together, and then trying to drink it. Disgusting. So, but if you add a lot of sugar, it'll mask it. and you lose the coffee flavor, you lose the alcohol flavor, and you basically just have kind of a Yoo-hoo type drink. That's what a lot of these taste like. I've tried every one that I can get my hands on just to sample and see. Whereas with ours, because we use neutral spirits and bourbon, you have this hint of alcohol, just enough, and especially if you love bourbon, you get enough of that bourbon flavor that you really enjoy it. A little bit of sugar, because we use neutral spirits, we don't have to mask it with sugar. And we're a coffee company, so all these other companies are alcohol companies, they're beer companies, creating a coffee-flavored product. We're a coffee company creating a coffee product that we added some delicious flavoring to, all natural, but then also added just enough alcohol to make it really, again, just enough alcohol to put a smile on your face, not enough caffeine to keep you awake. You know, it's basically about the equivalent of maybe a quarter cup of coffee, but a really, really delicious product that's lower in sugar, lower in calories than all the competitors. So what we were told by Whole Foods, who was our first partner in launching this, they said, guys, you by far have the best tasting product in the category. When we compare it to all the other hard coffee brands that we're carrying, you guys by far have the best tasting product in the market. However, the category was so new. Like, when do you drink coffee and alcohol together? You know, people don't. So I think you drink it at brunch, or you drink it early afternoon, or if you're a lot of folks that like to play games and get together, and maybe they're doing gaming on the weekends with some friends, or even virtually, like, that's a good time. They like to consume alcohol during that time and caffeine. So this is kind of a good combination of both. So those are a few options. Tailgates, great, a great option. But again, it's not too much alcohol, and it's not too much sugar, and it's not too much caffeine. So you kind of get all the mix. Anyway, roundabout way to answer your question. That product by itself, we want to see that product continue to expand. And the market for that product is wide open right now. Then we take our canned cold brew product that we have, our Nitro Cold Brew in a can. Also, very delicious product. Not too much sugar, makes it delicious. Just in the last 90 days, we've added hundreds of places that are now stocking that on their shelves in places we never had access to before. So convenience stores, but also other large retailers. We just signed an agreement with Giant Foods that's going to start carrying not just that, but that's a gateway into all of our other coffee products. So our whole bean, our K-Cup, all those other things that people normally consume. So where we see, I can't, especially because I just solicited investment, I can't say, like, here's where we're going to be in X amount of years. But our vision is that, definitely all across the Mid-Atlantic, we would be in convenience stores, we'd be in these major retailers with both with major retailers with all of our line, and then in convenience stores, we'd be there, obviously with our canned products especially, with a focus on that. But then that just opens up more distribution. So, we have contracts with multiple brokers, Cisco Virginia, Cisco Maryland, all those that get us into restaurants, get us into other places. So that already exists. Like, we have some, by my estimations, and we don't get exact data from them, but there are hundreds and hundreds of other places that carry Greenberry's coffee throughout the Mid-Atlantic through those contracts. So for us, it's just, we have the team in place to really scale growth. We're a company that's built on 30 years of profitability. We already have a support through an international footprint. We just launched a sister company in Ireland that is working to expand us in the European Union. So you look at this company, we're a success story 30 years in the making. That's a good way to put it. Built on 30 years of profitability. We already have a footprint in 3 countries, and we're looking to expand into a 4th, and then many other countries into the EU. And then we have cutting-edge product lines that are really capturing major trends. So our cold brew, Nitro Cold Brew, and then our hard coffee product, cold brew with alcohol, neutral spirits. So we see the next 5 years as by far and away the best 5 years that Greenberry's have. We're positioned with low debt. We're positioned with vertical integration, and we're positioned on the back of this 30 years of profitability. One last thing, with this current raise, we're really focused in on the opportunity to create more community centers through local coffee shops. So that's an increase in franchising. That's an increase in company-owned cafes. So we see a big opportunity. One of the things we're seeing is as companies like Peet's Coffee and Tea pull out of places like DC, Starbucks pull out of places like DC. Those shops and everything is all set up. It's already set up for us to come in as an existing cafe, especially at Peet's, which there are a lot of Peet's that are turning over right now. We could go in, buy the whole shop, all the equipment, everything at a discount. We started, mentored by Alfred Peet of Peet's Coffee and Tea. So us to flip that, pay a significantly reduced price for all the equipment, the setup's already there, then we're just changing out our logos, our branding, our systems, our people, and we can turn that on at a fraction of the cost to start up just a new cafe for the first time. So those are the opportunities that we're really focused on right now, especially with the cafe expansion, and we're looking at that in the next 12 to 24 months.
Great answer from John Copper here. And we have a lot of questions and comments are coming in as we speak. We're going to get to these questions and comments, guys. I see six states and 2 countries right now on the feed. Kevin Higgins will get to your comments in Greenwood here in a matter of moments. I got one follow-up before we open it up to viewer and listener participation. John, I am so pumped and see so much opportunity and positivity and momentum and bullish tailwinds for this brand, especially over the next 5 years. Can we highlight the various revenue streams in this incredible brand? I mean, you got the cafe stream.
Mm-hmm.
The cafe, guys, is the brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
The cafe is paramount to the empire because it's a way for folks to fall in love with the brand.
Mm-hmm.
It's marketing that drives revenue. The cafe,
Mm-hmm.
immediate and tangible revenue. You got, and help me. You got the distribution.
Mm-hmm.
I should take a step back. You got the roasting.
Yep.
Okay, roasting and distribution.
Yep.
You got franchising.
Mm-hmm.
You got the nitro.
Mm-hmm.
You got the hard coffee.
Mm-hmm.
That's 5 that I can count of. What other rev streams am I missing here?
Well, yeah, I mean, we would separate out our e-commerce.
Okay.
So we launched e-commerce a couple years ago.
Okay. That's definitely its own stream.
Yeah.
That's 6.
We've had more than 70% quarter-over-quarter growth for 2.5 years running.
Okay, wholesale is 7.
quarter. Yeah, wholesale. Wholesale, and then if you factor in like our agreements with Cisco and things, so we're like Silver Diner. We're the coffee that Silver Diner uses, and of course they're up and down the Maryland, Richmond area, Northern Virginia. So there's so many restaurants like that use us. We're just not on the logo and the label.
So that's white labeling.
Basically, I mean,
Yeah.
when you think about a restaurant using us, it could be, but they're very, like Silver Diner, it's not white labeled in the sense that they're saying this is our coffee. We've done collaborations with them on Instagram and things, so they're more than happy to say this is Green Bears, because they pride themselves on local and regional sourcing of their products.
Okay.
We've been a partner with them for years. I think you hit the major. I mean, we're on the shelves in major retailers. We're selling online. We have agreements where we're set up to sell, or like with Silver Diner through Cisco and places like that. Then we have, of course, the franchising. We have the cafes. And then we capture all the profits because for the franchises and the cafes, we also hold the distributor licenses for the equipment, for the Torini flavors, all the other things that they need to create, to make their food, to make their smoothies, to do the coffee products there in the cafe and the franchise. We hold distributor licenses for most of those. So those are other revenue streams that we capture with the vertical integration.
You got profit centers everywhere.
There
are profit centers everywhere, guys.
Incredible what Sean and Roxanne have set up over the years. It's really incredible.
Absolutely amazing. Let's get to comments here. So this is coming in from West Virginia, and this is from Steven, who's watching in West Virginia. What states will you be expanding to in our country? And then also ask him what countries will he be expanding to next?
Yep, great. So just to capture, we already have franchises and/or cafes in Virginia. We're also in DC, Maryland, Louisiana. So those are our franchises and/or cafes. And then in terms of the Nitro product, we actually have that carried in West Virginia at Walmart in West Virginia. So we're in about 60 stores. So our Nitro product is carried in Walmart. It's carried in Georgia and Indiana through some convenience store agreements. And then we just signed an agreement with a distributor in southern Southwest Virginia, so the Roanoke area. I believe that expands into North Carolina. And then we also have an agreement that's kind of pioneering the Northeast, but right now that's Pennsylvania. So those are the states right now. In terms of expansion, what we see is kind of the southern vacation states. So the Carolinas, Georgia, Florida. So that's kind of the track that we're on. And then from there, being able to expand from that. In terms of international expansion, we already have franchises in Saudi Arabia. We have franchises in Japan. And then we have an affiliate company. So this is not, so just to clarify, like on Start Engine, what we're offering, you can't buy shares in this affiliate company, but anything they sell, we roast, and that's what you're buying shares in. So that affiliate company is based in Ireland. And they are working to expand distribution first in Ireland, but also in the UK, and then we would go to the rest of the EU through that distribution channel there. So that's the next phase focus for international expansion. And I'll say one last thing: all of our products are currently we can't ship alcohol to West Virginia, but all the rest of the products you can buy anywhere in the country and have them shipped right to your door. On our website, shop.greenberries.com.
Mark Mers,
Mark!
watching the program right now, Keystone Heights, Florida.
Yeah.
He says, talk to us about the Florida strategy.
Yeah, so Mark is my cousin.
Yeah?
Mark, good to see you on. So Mark, we currently have a distributor that we have an agreement with in Florida. You can of course, you can get the product shipped to Florida at present. And just order on our website and have it there. But in terms of the agreement, I can't go into details because we're still working out what the distribution looks like there. But Florida is very high on our list, and that distributor agreement that we have in place, just the details of what products and how that's going in, I'm not at liberty to say. But hopefully very soon you will be able to pick up our Nitro products in particular right there in Florida.
So this is live all over social, and now we have viewers and listeners interacting with each other about what we're talking about right now. So this is the beautiful thing about social media. Kevin Higgins is one of the viewers and listeners of this program that we absolutely adore, respect, and love. We've dubbed him the King of Greenwood. He says this: are coffee trucks like food trucks an option? Any profit potential? A Nitro truck seems bullish with potential for me. Kevin Higgins also adds, what about the Outer Banks? Hard coffee on vacation for the win. Then Chad Wood is responding to Kevin Higgins' comments here, saying food trucks, coffee trucks sound great for this concept. So anything you want to go right there?
Absolutely. So we have our first Nitro bus. It's a converted like hippie van.
Love it.
It's all black, but it's set up that it just opens right up. It's got just like a food truck.
This is Sean's bus, right?
This is Sean's bus that he converted. Sean's a big car guy.
I know he is.
So he converted the bus, opens right up. So we already use that in some limited capabilities right now. But absolutely. So the thing is, we have what I would call just a micro franchising license, where it's incredibly inexpensive when you look at starting a franchise. So we have these micro franchise licenses that people can buy annually and have the Greenberries brand, have the Greenberries products, sell the Greenberries products, and do things like set up your own 2 or 3 coffee trucks. That would be for an individual, for a solopreneur, or maybe somebody that wanted to do a mom and pop. The franchising fees, again, relative to opening a cafe, are a fraction of the cost. Of course, the machinery, the coffee product, I mean, all that significantly reduced because you're in you're in a food truck basically, or a nitro bus if you want to call it that. But the potential for that, if somebody wanted to be an owner-operator of something like that, is just, I think pretty incredible.
Put that even more in perspective here, because I see in the feed people are intrigued by that.
Yeah.
I'm seeing folks hammering the like button on the micro-franchising approach here.
Yeah. So basically, it's similar to agreements like we have with Aramark at UVA. So if you go to Clark Hall, you go to Artelman Library, you go to different places around UVA, we have Greenberry's quote-unquote locations set up. Those Greenberries, they're not full franchises. So you're not going to be able to get the delicious food like you can get at Barracks or the Center or Harrisonburg or DC. But they're kind of mini franchises. Aramark pays a drastically reduced franchise licensing fee to be able to use the Greenberries products, logo, marketing, etc. So people can do this and apply it to a recent one. I've got a friend of mine in the Richmond area. He's got a barber shop that he's looking for a location for. Now currently he does mobile barber, so he shows up, he's got a van and he cuts your hair, and got the whole barber shop set up in his van. It's great. But he's looking to actually have a location. And we were just talking about the concept. He wants it to be more like a lounge. And I was like, well, have you looked at maybe offering some sort of coffee product? And, we just got to talking about, like, he could set up a micro franchise right there in his barbershop. And it's just another, you understand. It's just
totally get it.
It's another profit center.
Yeah.
So again, you can, and of course, you got a captive audience. So not that you would gouge people, but anytime you have a captive audience, they don't really care about the price. They just want something delicious to snack on or drink.
Sure.
And so you have the ability, running a micro franchise like that, adding it on to a business you already own, a location you already have, or creating your own location relatively inexpensively, with a food truck, and then you can license these things. So anyway, if you're interested in that, we have a franchising form on our website, greenberries.com. Go to the franchising section. It should be in the menu, also at the footer, and fill out that form and just say, hey, had an idea about a food truck, or had an idea about my other location, potentially adding Greenberries as a profit center in that location in a business you already have. So we are wide open for that. Lots of opportunity for that.
So this has come in. Kevin Yancey, who's watching in Waynesboro, says, does it require the micro franchise, the espresso type brew machines, or is it different kind of equipment to make the coffee?
I don't know all of the details. I know we are very flexible.
Got it.
So for example, if somebody wanted to do, so let's just take a few hot products right now. If somebody wanted to sell nitro in a can, and then they wanted to sell cold brew in a box, so it's basically like a little box, a little tap, and you got cold brew coffee right there. And then they wanted to be, so that, it's the menu can be as wide or as limited as you want with the franchise. And if it were me, I would take a more limited menu, maybe offer 5, 6, 7 of our core products. Some of them are in cans, so that's easy. Other ones on our tap, so we can do, we have these little mini keg for our nitro coffee on tap, our non-alcoholic nitro coffee on tap. So you could set up 4, 5, 6 products at a very limited cost and in a reduced franchise fee, because you're not doing all the bells and whistles, and get started that way. And then if you say, okay, now we want to start adding in some more of the drinks and be able to offer some of the specialty drinks and different things like that, then you could scale up your equipment as you go. So there's a lot of ways to get started with it that would be very economical. You wouldn't have to take out a bunch of debt. You wouldn't have to have a lot of money on the upfront end. But you could start a Greenberries franchise and start your business or your side business or whatever it is,
I love that idea. This is coming in from outside Hilton Head. Mm-hmm. Jerry, please ask the guest who the brand benchmark is of what Greenberries wants to become. You're almost carving out your own brand new niche in the space.
Yeah, I've wrestled with that, because we're not Starbucks. And we don't want to be Starbucks. There's so many things admirable about what Starbucks did over the last 30 years, but that's not us. But we're also not a discount coffee. So we're a reasonably priced specialty coffee. We're trained by Alfred Peet. If you know anything about specialty coffee in the U.S., he's ground zero. Yeah. He was the guy. He's the guy, Peet's Coffee and Tea, and then he trained the 3 guys that went off and started Starbucks. So Alfred Pete is the reason we have, 50 coffee shops inside of Charlottesville. It's Alfred Pete. He's the reason. He's the guy that mentored Sean and Roxanne for the first 5 years. And then you also look at Jamie Anderson. Jamie Anderson, Anderson's Coffee down in Austin, Texas. He's one of the original. So he actually introduced Sean and Roxanne to Alfred Pete. And Jamie still mentors Sean and Roxanne over the course of decades. We really see, again, going back, our core vision, good coffee brings people together. And we've been able to do that in Charlottesville for 30 years. We've been able to do that in Harrisonburg for more than a decade. We've been able to do that in Northern Virginia, in the D.C. area now for a similar time frame. We're doing that in Saudi Arabia. We're doing that in Japan. Our vision is good coffee brings people together. And not that we won't do curbside pickup and drive-through. Our Harrisonburg location has a drive-through, and it's great. We've explored adding some sort of feature like that here in Charlottesville. So we're not saying those are bad ideas. We think those are great ideas. But we don't think they're great ideas if you're doing it to the detriment of not having a community space.
A cafe.
A cafe.
Yeah.
So our strategy is we want to be the cafe. We want to be your third place in your community.
That is great.
Yeah, and we're covered by all the air cover, so we have, we're distributed in the major food chains, in the major retailers. We're distributed online, and so you get all this kind of air cover as the brand, but then you can open up your local community cafe. Take this real quick. So like West Richmond. So when you go outside of Richmond City, the city limits, all the way to Short Pump, and then all the way south to Midlothian, there is one that I can find. There is one local coffee shop cafe, and it's more of like, it's one of those hybrids. So like they serve wine and Italian food at night, and then they do coffee, espresso stuff during the day. So it's kind of a hybrid. I wouldn't even say it's like a actual, when I think of a coffee shop, I don't even think it fits. But there's one for hundreds of thousands of people in the capital of Virginia, for the whole western side of Richmond. Now, there's a lot of people like my wife and I, whenever I go somewhere, traveling wherever, I am looking for the green berries of that community. I personally, just a taste thing, I don't like Starbucks coffee. Now, I go to Starbucks sometimes, but I'm not a fan of their coffee. I don't like Dunkin' coffee. I don't like the vibe of Dunkin' either. Again, that's just my personal opinion. Other people think differently. Now, we go to Dunkin' on Saturdays and pick up donuts for the kids. So like, I love Dunkin', I love your donuts. Not my place for a third place to go sit down, get some work done, meet somebody, grab a cup of coffee. That's not it. So whenever we travel, we look for the local coffee shop, the community coffee shop. Green Berries, that's what Green Berries is. That's what Green Berries is seeking to be in more communities, obviously throughout the Mid-Atlantic, but we're open to possibilities kind of wherever. And there are a lot of people that are like me, they're traveling, go to Richmond for work, whatever. They want to find the Green Berries, go to DC. They want to find, and when I say the Green Berries, I just mean the local cafe. And when you look at some place the size of Richmond, that for at least a third of Richmond's population, when you look at the suburbs, there's not one. There's not a single local coffee shop in Short Pump within a few mile radius of Short Pump. It doesn't exist. You have Starbucks, you have Dunkin'. That's it. Now, when I go to Short Pump, my wife's parents live there, so like when we're there, like that's where I want to go get coffee at a local coffee shop. If I gotta pop out, do some work, do something, meet somebody, it doesn't exist. So we see this all across the country. There's so many communities like Short Pump, like West Richmond, Henrico, Midlothian, just areas like that they're not as fortunate as we are here in Charlottesville, where we have like 40 or 50 local coffee shops, I think just right inside the city limits. It's nuts. But there's so many communities that's not the case, and we want to step in and fill that gap.
You're killing it, dude. You always kill it in this setting. Let's highlight some of the viewers and listeners that are watching. Very strong friend of the program, someone we both respect tremendously. Inhuman Schumann, John Schumann.
Coach Schumann.
Coach Schumann watching the program right now. Coach Schumann gives...
he introduced us.
I know.
Yeah.
He totally
did.
did.
Like 15 years ago or something.
I love John Schumann. I love John Schumann. He says, John Copper of Fuma, great. And then in fantastic John Schumann fashion, throws you a little zing right there and says, JC, John Copper, you need to shape up those sideburns over there. John Schumann is one of the best football coaches, and I don't want to speak for John, but I would imagine he's going to say the same thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Just a legend in Fork Union.
Yeah.
I'm seeing 7 states and 3 countries now on the show with more questions coming in for John Copper here on the program. Maggie Gunnels, hello. She says you are killing it. And this is so interesting right now. Folks asking questions, so let's get straight to them here. Does he think, this is from Jennifer who is watching in Pennsylvania, so Greenberry's thinks that they can become the cafe leaders of coffee. Is that what he's saying? That sounds like what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you can too.
There is massive opportunity in that space, and we are positioned to grow into that. So with our last raise, how we're able to redeploy that capital, with this current raise, what we're looking to do, we believe we can be that. Now, whether that's coast to coast or whether that's even just throughout the Mid-Atlantic, we believe we have the DNA, the business model, the profitability, the vertical integration to be able to step into that space in communities all across.
We should tell the story about, to further put in perspective of the grit behind the brand of Sean and Roxanne. Like literally their first cafe in Barracks Road, they worked behind the counter. Mm-hmm. And Sean will tell a story, and you please highlight it for us, of folks saying to him when they launched the brand in Barracks Road, the cafe, you are crazy.
Oh, it was 1992.
Right.
Like there was no such thing as a coffee shop. Well, there was one at the time. One other coffee roaster. I don't even know if they were like an actual coffee shop. I mean, this is pre-Starbucks. So nobody had a concept of going in and paying $4 or $5
right,
for
it was
coffee.
like a buck of coffee.
Yeah, exactly.
It was nothing.
Yeah. Just a commodity.
Yeah,
exactly. And Starbucks, to their credit, Howard Schultz, Starbucks, they changed that. They changed that mindset for all across America. And now there's even more and more demands for specialty coffee. You look at statistics for Gen Z and Gen Y. The demand for specialty coffee is at an all-time high. And it's only growing. From the data we see, it's only growing. So when I say specialty coffee, I just mean you're not buying Folgers and brewing it at your house. Like you want a gourmet coffee. You want a coffee that really tastes good. That there's been a lot has gone into the roasting process, the roasting thought, the sourcing of the beans, etc. And then you also, you might want that coffee flavor. You might want that coffee with, some different bells and whistles on it. So that when I say specialty coffee, that's what I mean, and,
sure.
we're positioned very well for that.
Johnny Ornalis, owner of El Mariachi in Guadalajara, watching the program. Chad Wood says, best of luck to John Copper and to Greenberry's. We'll take a few more questions here. We were going to do a 20 to 25 minute interview here. We're about an hour in. John Copper is carrying it like he does in everything in life, guys. Just crushing it right now. This is a good question. It's a challenging question here. This is clearly from someone who works in finance. What revenue vertical are you most excited about and has the best earnings or growth potential?
Mm-hmm. At present, let me think about this real quick. So we've really got 3. The expansion into convenience stores, because again, we've never been in convenience stores, but we've got a canned. It looks exactly the same as a Red Bull can in terms of size. So it looks like an energy drink, but it's all natural. So you don't have all the added junk. You don't have synthetic caffeine. And we coined this phrase. Coffee is the world's most popular energy drink. So that's the branding that goes along with it. So just the opportunity to be in convenience stores right alongside Red Bull, Monster, Starbucks Double Shots, all these other more established energy drink brands, that's massive for us.
That's big time.
Big time. And again, just in the last 90 days, we're in hundreds of new convenience store locations. And again, we've never been in them before. So that area alone is substantial. The opportunity to flip or come into a quote unquote abandoned cafe space and flip the lights on and turn it on and give it a new cover, our DNA, all that, but all the resources are already there because it was built out for a cafe. We see that as a huge opportunity. Really looking, that's probably 12 to 24 months and beyond, because those things we just can't do it. And, that's not a 30-day deal. Whereas getting into new convenience stores, like we think we could potentially even double the current locations we're in the next 90 days from here. So that's a very rapid, of course, and then the third area is online sales. I mean, we just launched online sales about 2.5 years ago, and we've really gotten a lot of traction with that. So those would be the three areas that I think, one's kind of more immediate with our convenience store opportunity and then just being in other grocery, other retailers. One's kind of more mid-range, maybe 1 to 5 years. That's the cafe establishment. But the real opportunity with that is 12 to 36 months. And then we look at online, and online's just continuing to grow quarter over quarter.
One of our favorite viewers and listeners, John Blair, watching in Stanton, Virginia right now. Kevin Higgins makes a really good point here. Guys, we'll get to as many of the comments as possible here, I promise. He highlights what Devil's Backbone did with Anheuser-Busch InBev, and how they built this vertically integrated beer behemoth, where it was Devil's Backbone and Nelson was essentially the cafe. Then they had the can option that we saw in various convenience stores. Then they had the relationship with the distributor like Cisco. Then they had folks fall in love with the headquarters base camp, and then spread the love. Then they had the distribution, like you're saying. Then they opened tasting rooms, strategic tasting rooms located as a brand builder. And then next thing you know, Anheuser-Busch InBev, I think it was, I've heard anywhere from 60 to 100 million, makes the purchase of the founders. Yeah, great exit of Devil's Backbone. So I'm going to take what Kevin Higgins has, it was a great comment, and take it to another level here. You guys have this brand that is booming. We clearly have highlighted the next 5 years of Greenberry's are primed to be the best 5 years of a 30-year history of a company. We see the incredible momentum from crowdsourcing stock options. Is there an exit play? Is this the type of concept where it continue to keep booming? Could, crazy to say this, IPO could follow like a Starbucks suit?
Yeah, that's all.
I mean, that's down the road.
That's all very, very forward-looking.
Yeah, sure.
Right now, I can say that we are set up for strong growth over the next 12 to 36 months. Strong growth. And again, this is disclaimer. We did solicit an investment earlier.
Sure.
But I think Greenberry's the roasting could very easily double and then maybe double a second time inside of 36 months. And that's already, if you look at, we've already done that the last, I forget the arc, but I think it's the last 5 or 6 years. Because the last 5 or 6 years was when we opened all the stores in Japan. We got into Costco. We expanded Whole Foods. We added the Nitro lines. So we've already doubled, if we're looking in hindsight, the last 5 or 6 years.
Right.
Greenberry's doubled. We've reinvested this last smaller round that we did. We're already, though, like if you look at it, we've only been live for 7 days. The last round was, I think we were there for about 6 or 8 months. We've only been live for 1 week, and we've already raised a third of what we raised in the first round.
Right.
So the momentum here is really. Oh, I'll say one more thing. If you do want to invest, today is the best day. Because until 9 p.m. Eastern, you get 15% bonus shares. So if you are considering investing, not that tomorrow it's 10%, still good, but there is a kind of a friends and family, which is why I wanted to get on the show this week. There is a friends and family addition that people can have if you invest by today. So anyway, did that answer your kind of where we're going? I mean, we've doubled over the last 5 or 6 years. I think forward-looking over the next 5 years, I think that could happen again and maybe even a second time. And even if you just took the Nitro lines.
That's what I'm saying.
The Nitro lines by themselves, I mean, if we were able to get national distribution, right now it's all regional. If we were able to get national distribution with that one product alone,
Huge.
okay, now Greenberry's just 10x'd from its current size. And when I say Greenberry's just 10x, I mean the roasting. So every bean of coffee we roast and brew and serve, national distribution with the Nitro line, 10x, just like that. So the possibilities
It's
from
tangible. It's
yeah,
obvious.
and again, we're set up for success because we don't have large outside investors, we don't have a lot of debt, and we're vertically integrated. So we're set up to really take advantage of this growth over the next 12, 24, 36 months.
Have you guys brainstormed, cannabis CBD infused coffee?
We have looked into
Because that space is going to boom, right?
It is going to boom. We looked into that.
Yes.
We actually, I won't say specifics, but there was a very, very household name. When you think of cannabis,
Okay.
it's probably the name
Okay.
you think of.
Okay. You don't want me to guess?
You can guess. I will confirm or deny.
Okay. All right. I have too much respect for you than to guess that.
They approached us
Okay.
to do a collaboration.
Okay.
And it just ended up not working out. But it was very interesting. So as a brand, we're not sure if that really fits with the brand, with where we're at right now.
Well, you're saying the mission or the profile of what Greenberry stands for with cannabis that is still
Yes.
kind of
Still
Wild West?
Yeah, still kind of Wild West.
Yeah.
So as a brand
But
internally,
we know where it's going.
exactly. So what we said then, when that opportunity presented itself, is we're okay kind of with a collaboration with them.
Okay.
But it's not something like we'd have just kind of everywhere under the Greenberry's umbrella.
Okay.
So anyway, so that's a very interesting space. We have stuck our toe in it, exploring it. Not sure that's the direction we're going to go as kind of the brand central.
Sure.
But in terms of maybe potential collaborations in the future, that's not something that's outside the realm of possibility.
So Kelsey's watching the program right now, and she's watching in Tennessee, and she says, please ask the guest if he personally is buying stock options. And if
Yes,
he
I have. Yeah, absolutely. So sorry, what's the follow-up question?
it sounds like we all should have a stake in the business here. You do.
I think it's two things. I think if you like supporting smaller companies, and again, it's speculative. So I'm obviously excited. You can see that.
Yeah.
I think we're set up for growth. I think I've made a good case for that.
You did.
It's still a risk. It's still an investment, and like any risk or any investment, there's risk involved. So again, that's kind of my asterisk. But yes, I personally have shares in the company. And that's something that as I look at kind of our next 2, 3, 5-year arc, I think we can really grow into something of substance with where we're going.
Jamie Turner watching the program, Woodbury Forest alum.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of rivalry
Yeah,
right there
Fuma,
with the
Woodbury.
alum. He's got a little zinger right there for the Fuma, which I'll give to you in a second. We've dubbed him the mayor of Gordonsville.
Okay.
This guy is a consultant, right? Is that right? With KPMG, I believe, a senior consultant with KPMG, and he gives a little zing there in jest. This guy is super sharp for a FUMA grad, also a UVA grad, Jamie Turner. Then he says, I will for sure invest. Thank you for having this on the platform, Jerry. I've been looking for local investing opportunities such as this one. From Jamie Turner, who's just a fabulous viewer and listener of this program. Dude, John, you repped Greenberry's incredibly well today, as you always do. You spent over an hour talking about this when we initially were going to go 20, 25 minutes, which is a testament to you. The potential with this investment, dude, is palpable and tangible, and I think all the viewers and listeners can see that. Give us, in closing, the way to engage from an investment standpoint and kind of that elevator chat of why this is full of promising potential.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you want to invest, Start Engine is the platform. Start Engine is the largest equity investing platform there is. So startengine.com/coffee. Startengine.com/coffee. I think Judah could probably get that in the in the maybe on the
On
post.
screen, yeah, give it to
On
them one more
screen,
time there.
startengine.com/coffee.
Startengine.com/coffee. And we'll get that as a lower third on screen.
Yeah, that sounds great, and maybe just a pinned comment, even just so people, as they're watching this later, they could come back to it. The reasons to invest. We're a local company, so all of our jobs, everything's coming back to supporting the local economy. We're roasting and brewing right here. Of course, we have cafes right here, and that's not gonna change. So as we grow, as we multiply, as we're planning over the coming years, that's going to directly impact the local economy in a positive way. So if you're looking to invest local, this is a great opportunity for that. We're built on 30 years of profitability. So a lot of companies that you might invest in, a lot of even equity crowd funds. So you look on the rest of Start Engine's platform, there's all these companies that are hypothetical. They don't yet have actual ways that you can, there's no revenues, or there's very little revenues compared to their valuations. We're built on 30 years of profitability. So you've got a solid company, vertically integrated, minimal debt, so just a very solid foundation for this. In addition to that, we see a huge opportunity in the cafe space in particular over the next 12 to 36 months, and that's why we opened this round. And that opportunity is nearly 1 in 10 small independent coffee shops closed. Dunkin' Donuts now Starbucks now 2/3 of their cafes are now exclusively or primarily focused on drive-through. In Dunkin' Donuts, that's always been the case. So you look at most coffee shops are not focusing on the cafe if you look at the majority being held by Dunkin' and Starbucks. So we want to focus on that cafe space, not to the detriment of having drive-thrus, curbside, all those new things that are great, but still having that community place where you can gather, you can meet with a friend, you can grab a cup of coffee, a bite to eat, you can do remote work, you can study. That's the niche that we believe is being vacated some, and we see that as a big opportunity for us and for Greenberry's. And if you join us in investing, that would be an opportunity for you as well. And the final thing, pitch for the investment, we do have some cutting edge product lines. So cold brew, we introduced that way ahead of the curve years ago. Nitro cold brew, we started serving that years ago on tap, before that was even a thing. And then we were the first company to launch a nitro cold brew with neutral spirits and bourbon. Absolutely delicious product. So we have cutting edge, 30 years of profitability in coffee, in the cafe space, but it's also, we are on top of and even riding very major trends in the coffee space, the hard coffee space, nitro cold brew, and then just cold brew coffee in general. All those are major trends, growing double-digit year over year, and we have some absolutely delicious and phenomenal products in those spaces. So your investment, when you invest, you get a share in every cup of coffee we serve, every can of cold brew that we distribute and that people consume, and every bean that we roast. So you're getting a share in that. As we expand in more cafes, we're also going to be putting those cafes into the company you're investing in. So you would get a share in those future. Now again, that's completely forward-looking future. We don't have a cafe sitting on our doorstep right now that we're about to open up, but that is the purpose of this raise. That is what we're looking to do aggressively over the next 12, 24, 36 months. Your investment would also be a part of that forward-looking, adding new cafes into the Greenberry's family.
John, you killed it.
Thanks.
You are dynamite.
Yeah.
Dude is dynamite. Brandon and Isaiah are giving you some props.
VI.
Brandon and Isaiah, another UVA standout, giving
right.
this man some props. Dude, you are so good in this.
Yeah.
Marketing director of Greenberry's just hit a utter grand slam. Like, I'm talking like absolutely out of the park in today's interview. We will get that that URL pinned, guys, in the comment section of all the Facebook pages we're watching upon. Judah, if we can get it on LinkedIn, Twitter, iTunes, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everywhere else we're streaming, that would mean the world to us. I love when local brands do great. And this story is what the community we broadcast in. Now, this show has been seen in 8 states and 3 countries today, which speaks to the Greenberry's reach. But when local founders like Sean and Roxanne have success due to 30 years of hard work, strategic risk-taking, and incredible vision, and then bring on incredible people like John and like Julia and the Greenberries team, this is what happens. Success happens. And at this network and at our businesses, we champion the success of others always, because a rising tide is great for all ships, and the Greenberries tide is rising and rising significantly. John, friend, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks
you were
for
on
having
fire.
us on. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
It was a blast.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Judah, thank you for what you do. For Judah Whitcower and John Copper, my name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille show. Tomorrow we are back with Danville City Councilor Lee Vogler, Danville, Virginia. I cannot believe what I'm about to say here, but Danville, Virginia is going to be the first year-round designated outdoor refreshment area, a beer garden. In the entire Commonwealth of Virginia, Danville, Virginia, and Southwest Virginia is out innovating, out policying jurisdictions across the Commonwealth. And tomorrow we're going to have the city councilor that spearheaded the designated outdoor refreshment area in Danville on this show to talk about the nuanced elements of this policy and how it's driving incremental tax revenue, how it will drive incremental tax revenue for the municipality and jurisdiction, and how it will serve as an economic foundation for locally owned businesses in Danville. If you don't think I'm hinting or imploring or encouraging Charlottesville City Council to open up a beer garden on the downtown mall, you know I am. And tomorrow's show, we're going to have the councilor who led the charge live on the I Love CVille show. For John and Judah, I'm Jerry. Thank you kindly for joining us. You guys have a good afternoon. Take care.